session, and second is definitely our presentation where Mr. Goel is also with me. Just to brief in terms of what Mr. Burton really talked about is I think as business managers, as owners of the businesses, you need to know your niche and you need to know your business really well. If you know both these things well, then you can go to the buyers and command. Sometimes you can work on the price. There is a market price, but you can work. You can have an attitude that okay, this is what I am giving, and this is what for I want the money. So these things can be brought up by knowing your niche and knowing your business. I think these are some of the key thoughts that Mr. Burton talked about. Now, from there on, we will take on to two major aspects which Mr. Goel presented in presentation yesterday, and then we will make it as an interactive session. We'll like to have questions from your side, and then would like to answer with all the examples there that what can be the solution to those problems. Again, yesterday when we talked about, I'll straight away shift to this slide where we sorry. Yeah. So these two things that we will focus. One is the thought process that we were talking about yesterday, that we always say cost plus profit is the selling price. But can we talk about selling price minus profit is cost? Here we are saying that we know this is the profit I need from the business. And when we know this is the profit we need from the business, and we know that selling price is governed by the market price, the buyers, the conditions and all, then at what cost, what's my target cost, and that around that cost, we work around in our factory that how I can produce my garments as per that cost. I think this is one area that we'll focus about, and then we'll see that what are the issues that we face when we have to make the garments at this target cost. Everybody has to work as a team that we have to achieve this target. Everybody has to be given those responsibilities to achieve this target. And while we have to achieve this target, the other aspect that we talked about, that where as a business manager, as a business owner, where we should spend our time is what we have to see. And this aspect I think is most important here. While we are trying to achieve our target cost in India, as we have been discussing, we spend 70% of time in operations, 10% in marketing, 20% in finance. Can we move to marketing and business development, which Mr. Burton talked about, that we spend 70% of our time there, 5% on finance, 10% on operation, 15% on organization and human development. I think these are two focuses that we'll have, and from there on we would like to see that keeping these two slides in focus, how we can achieve our target cost and make our business more profitable. I think.
Yeah. So before I start, I would like to have an understanding from this audience. How many people are running 50 million US dollar and above business out of this audience? 50. Of course, I know.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, there are many. Yeah.
So the first thing, now after that, I would like to do one small exercise. I will request Aminda, can you just come in as a volunteer, just in between? Yeah.
As a volunteer. After we called your name.
And basically, I will take it forward from Mr. Burton, because he said most of the things. Like if I talk in a simple layman language, we need to feel for the customer and the product. If we feel for the product and the customer, where is my customer? Who is my customer? What he wants? What he likes? Like the way we feel our child. And more importantly, I will say the girlfriend, not the wife. Because once we have the girlfriend, we manipulate everything to make her satisfy. Right? Once it becomes a wife, so the same way we have to follow the business, that we need to think every customer and client is like our girlfriend. Now I will write, Mr. Ramanda, please come in between.
Yeah, please.
Just stand and just put one.
Feels like that he's a magician. And
No.
Something like that.
I'm not a magician. I want to pass on sometimes simple exercise can make a big difference. Just put 1 foot up. Yeah. Now I will request this person not moving this feet. You need to move forward. How you will move? You can move further.
Yeah.
Can you move?
To reach the other point.
Any more?
Yeah, I can keep on stretching, but
Right. The point what I am trying to make, we at a stage where we are moving, we are grown in the business, not living the previous foot, the legacy. So we are moving, we are stretching, we are grown, but we are at a limit. Till the time, if we don't leave this previous foot forward, we cannot take the next step. So to take the next step, we have to leave the legacy behind. And who will take that legacy? When I say legacy, I say operation. I say what we are doing today. If we keep on doing the same thing, what we are doing today, I think that is the where we can stretch. Maybe we can stuck at 50, 60, 80. I think Mr. Burton can correct me nowadays. Thank you. Thank you. Now, if you top 20 customer in the world, everybody is consolidating. They want A to Z package. Nobody want garment anymore. What they want, who can understand my future requirement, who can bring the value to me, who can partnership with me, who can understand like my sales pattern, who can understand all these things, because in US or in Europe, doing this exercise, it has a huge money. So they want somebody to take the ownership and build a supply chain where they spend more time in distribution and product development, the controlling the fashion, developing the fashion, creating new business model. So we need to take up that. The time has gone where we get the sample, we counter sample, and we quote and we supply. I think we need to have the fabric in place before at least 2 years in advance or 1 year in advance. What will be the fabric trend? There is a forecast available 2 years in advance. These are the fabric. We don't need to rush to make the sample for the fabric once we get. Like Mr. Burton has mentioned, knits, woven. We need to know what is our vision in business. If I pause here for a minute, everybody sitting here, this is the time we need to think where we want to go, whether we want to go or not. If we don't want to go, let's not crib about it. Let's be happy. Then better to change the direction, because in business, the way it is said, it is like a bicycle. If it's not run, it falls. So we need to think and we need to decide where we want to go. And once we decide we want to go there at a 50 million or 100 million or a 200 million or a 500 million, then the question comes how. But if we don't decide and we are talking about where we are every day and the problems, we cannot. Sometimes I say to my team running as an institution is that, are we running an institution or myself heading an institution of institution of apology and excuses. People give excuses, people give apology. Or I am running an institution of where people talk solution. So I feel we need to create an organization, and as in a head of the institution, people sitting over here, they need to create an organization where we talk about solution and suggestion and the ideas and strategy. So I think to do that, what the critical investment we need to make as an entrepreneur, the time to think of the business perspective and the vision in a right direction, and the desire that I have to fulfill my dream. I may fail, I may be successful, but my mission and my objective is very clear. So this is, we can start with, now I will request keeping these 2 points. You may ask specific question, particular, okay, I spend, this is the way my time goes, how I can, what are the solution to how to save my time? Specific question, my target, this cost is a challenge, my productivity is a challenge. What are the way I need to approach to the problem? The question is, solution lies the way we approach. Solution lies the aggression we have to find out a solution. Never limit the solution within your own capabilities. Let's stretch it out. Every person I know, till the time I will not get a solution, I will budge every single door till the time I get a solution. So let's start with a specific question. I will try my best to answer any of the practical questions you face day to day.
The idea is that as we talked about how to achieve that target cost, and for that, what are the key challenges that we are facing? Because we have already talked about yesterday that what Vietnam is doing, what Bangladesh is doing, and what anybody else is doing. Now we want to talk about that within our sphere, what we can do to achieve the growth that, because all of us are doing business and are profitable. So how to make it more comfortable for us to run that business? So how to achieve our costs and targets? So yeah.
Managing the certainty about fabric arrivals and their quality. That is the biggest challenge that we face.
When we know there is an uncertainty, what will be the uncertainty? That you will not get the fabric on time. Correct? So our vendor, supplier, what we monitor with him? Delivery, we ask question, phone, okay, what is the status? You will give on time, he will say yes, yes, yes. Right? First of all, is the vendor has an understanding, vendor has a visibility, this is my whole year or 6 month requirement. Whether we have the access of his, what is his capacity, what he is committing, whether we have gone into drill down his detail. A vendor may commit, like I remember my old days when I working with the Ludhiana knitters, we used to call it a khade ka khalsa, right? Jo sar pe khada usi ka kaam hoga, right? So means if they will take an order at a 10 rupees a kg, if somebody else come, they ask what is the charge, they will say 15 rupees, he will say 14 rupees, they will leave 12 rupees to somebody else or keep it aside, put 14 rupees a kg, right? So first thing, we need to do our depth understanding of the supply chain. First of all, whom we are dealing with. We are not dealing with again fabric supplier. Again, he is not a fabric supplier, he is also a manufacturer. We need to understand what is his ethics, what is his value, what is his principle, what is his commitment level, what is his success level. Are we maintaining our each supplier quality index, supply index, commitment index? We need to create a mechanism where we see this supplier, we talk. If you perform, what is the order? When I am negotiating an order, I am not negotiating an order, I am negotiating as a business partner. I say, if this is my, if anything delayed, if anything problem, are you ready to come partnership with me? If you are not able to get, again, this is an opportunity for you. Okay, sorry. You have the front end, you can easily extend your back end. That is where we need to enhance our portfolios or create an options and alternatives. This is the problem, but there is a solution, right? You see, you can place one person, because if fabric get delayed 10 days, the cost of 10 day losing production and putting the person over there, whether we know what is the production capacity, how many machine he is loading, what is the, when he is taking the input, whether he has ordered the raw material. There is a, you have to penetrate, but paying one person extra and putting in a benchmark on him, if you get 100% delivery with the quality, you are being paid, otherwise you are not being paid. The commitment has to be brought from that person. It is not, the order has been finalized by the owner, talking to another owner, ground level, there is no control. So the business is not finalized between the top, business is finalized on the merit, on the ground. So what is the fundamental of placing that order? That ethics has to be established. The principle has to be established. Once you establish, sky is not the limit. Why you cannot book? I know, I need a single jersey fabric or I need a twill fabric. I can book the gray. Okay, so I should have, that is the where I need to talk to the buyer. I do that way. Talk to the buyer, okay, what is the order projected quantity? This is the projected quantity. I am booking the 50% quantity, right? Can I commit? Can you commit? Okay, 50% you commit, like what Mr. Burton has mentioned. I will give you 2 cents less. So there is a mechanism you have to create. You know the problem. We are not here to deal with the problem. The first fundamental, I am not here to manage the problem. I am here to kill the problem as an entrepreneur. Problem may come once, but if it comes second, third, fourth time, that means I am not a businessman. I am not an entrepreneur. We have the people to manage the business, manage the problem, but I need to kill the problem. So that is a little bit we can do. But how to set that mechanism where you know anything get delayed, what time you come to know. The success lies, you come to know by the cutting manager, you come to know by the raw material person, that today why production is low, sir, fabric is not come or fabric is rejected. That means it's a system failure. It is an organization failure. That means we don't have an organization. We have the people, but we don't have the organization. We are following the steps. We are not following the process. Quality is a result of process. We check quality inspection. It is a step. It is not a process. Step followed in a particular sequence on a time is called process. We do everything. It is like doing the child before the marriage. Steps are being followed, but not the process. And we know what is the social consequence it's all about. In the business, we need to follow the process and which ensure the sequencing and the time. If we follow that process of fabric procurement and we set the KPIs and the benchmark in such a way that anybody fail, you don't depend upon the people to tell you, because it is a human nature. I do the mistake. I'm not a God. I will come to you as an honor. Sir, I have done this mistake. He will come. In case you come to know, sir, don't worry, I will manage. And he will manage your business. Slowly, you're dependent on him and you become helpless.
Just to give you an example of fabric, as you raised this question, and I can give you a live example in terms of how Epic Group manages that fabric part, because once I was there in a conference where Epic Group sourcing head was there who manages the fabric buys and all, and Sachit Jain of Vardhman Group, they are major supplier of fabric. He was also sitting, all of us were just chatting together, and we were saying that, like, he was asking in terms of what are the price points at which they buy a certain fabric. And when he told that this is the kind of sourcing we do at this price point, and Sachit Jain was saying, if you do like this, then this is my like kind of raw material plus. So how can you manage at this costing? Then he explained clearly that how really the correlation with fabric supplier happens in terms of they know it's not, here we were talking about correlation with our buyers. Now here it's a correlation with our vendors, where our buyers, through our buyers, we know what kind of fabrics they are going to give, what kind of orders, what kind of fabrics will be used. Same way you give the feedback to your fabric suppliers, and he in turn will keep a stock. He knows that it's a certainty. He knows that at least this plus minus 10% raise, this kind of order will come. When he knows, he will give you the price, because then he is able to manage his cost. Because the way you are not able to manage his cost, a fabric supplier is also not able to manage his cost. So when both are not able to, then ultimately we work as a partner end to end. And that's how he was saying that he is able to manage the cost in such a way, the deliveries in such a way. In Epic Group in Bangladesh, only manufacturing, all sourcing, everything happens from Hong Kong, and it is ensured that all embellishments and fabrics reach to plant in time. That's their duty, and that's how they manage. They have people sitting in China, their team of fabric buyers who sits in China with their vendors and correlate with them. So I'm saying the answer does not lie in that we saying that, oh, our fabric suppliers are not good. Have we tried to reach to them? I think we have to find answer, as Goelji told about, that we need to kill the problem. I think that's how we need to approach it.
Create a mechanism. I will give another example, polybag. We know that. We are going to buy the poly, millions of polybag, right? How many times we buy in a year? If I take typically, I think everybody is buying more than 100 times in a year, right? We are doing $40 million. We are buying only 2 times in a year, right? I know I'm going to produce this much garment. I call the polybag supplier. I will tell you the size. Tell me this much kg polybag I will buy, plus minus 2 inch. What is the rate? What is the terms and conditions? I buy the year. Tell the merchandiser, right? Give it, because we are in the business.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it doesn't work in India like that. I don't
What?
know I don't know where you manufacture, but we are into fashion business, and every garment needs a different poly bag.
Agree. I'm saying I am negotiating in kg. I'm negotiating in kg. I'm negotiating in kg. I'm not negotiating in size.
His purchases also, the cost of his purchase will also vary.
Agree. So I am giving him cost plus margin, how the way I am working with customer. I am set up the same mechanism with him. I know the raw material access. I know my carton paper cost access. So that is the formula we establish.
You will not hold no Indian supplier or Delhi supplier will hold the material for 1 year.
I am not asking to hold. No, I am booking it based on I am giving it a commitment, because I am giving it a commitment. I am not saying you buy the raw material. I am giving the schedule, because I am giving a certainty to him that he is a loyal buyer.
But also if you are that much certainty, you don't have certainty.
And then your business module may be different. You are having a large volume business.
We are going off record. What he is trying to say is a business. Today you go to the bank, okay? They'll book you dollars for 1 year. Okay? He's telling you his business model. You go to a polythene supplier, you go to a box, he's giving an option. You might have 5 vendors who supply you boxes. What he's trying to say is, if you go to a vendor, if you try that, we do with certain people. Like Feds, we buy, we make, yearly arrangements, and you get good deals. We've done it with Balmain. We did that in OTGs. The issue is, you go for an offer, your polythene supplier might say no, pick up another polythene supplier who wants to enter your factory, will say yes, you get a process going. So, if you look at this chart, it's not to be, you've got to be open to certain things that you're not used to doing.
Let me buddy for a second. You gotta understand, that's why you have to get close to your buyer. Find out what their needs are. In my case, in Bangladesh, where he's doing very well, I know that I'm going to use this jersey, so I'm going to have it in gray goods sitting there. So if I was yellow one year, I'm going to have pink the other. It just cut 30 days of my delivery time down. And it also stabilized my price for a certain time that I bought it. These are what you have to know what your buyer's needs. Find out. Now the question is, can you get your buyer to buy the gray goods? In my case, I'm the buyer. I had to buy the gray goods. I even buy yarn.
Correct.
But I know, even in the fashion business, assuming you make dresses, I don't know what you make, and you're exporting to the United States, and they gave you a nice test order. They gave you 3,000 pieces of a very nice order, and it went in a special poly bag. And now they said, good, I want 5,000 pieces more. And you say, well, gee, I have to call up my supplier. I have to call up my... But if you have the fabric on gray goods, or talking to the fabric supplier saying, how often do you run this fabric? What is my time? Maybe you could fill those orders. So each negotiation has it. They happen to fall into poly bags. Yeah, it's a specialized business, but you're going to find out who your main buyers are, who your new ones. But if you don't know, you can't commit, and you're just, every time you call up the phone, yeah, I am, I can get it to you, maybe. That's not the way to do business.
I will give an example. Thread, button, poly bag, carton. There are many buyers want recycled paper. So I know my buyer. Right? So my point is, this is the where business is all about future. Business is all about visualizing and anticipating. And like what Mr. Burton has said, you make a plan, but plan got to change. Plan got to change. You plan 80%, 20% you keep flexibility. You're not sure. Plan 60%, and the way go forward, keep on extending your plan. But you have a person whose job is just monitoring this, and the moment he don't do his job, you get a message. Now the technology has played such a vital role. System will tell that is the input date. What are the input is not ready 15 days before, you get an alert. So it's all about creating a mechanism within the organization. First of all, we should think my organization, I'm not running. If without me, organization can run, that means I have an organization. If I don't go into the factory today, tomorrow I see 10 problems, that means first we need to correct our organization and the systems. Not like feel proud of it, I am doing something great or I am indispensable, I am very important. First, we have to think we are living in a not living in an indispensable world. We have to think differently. Any other question? Yeah.
Regarding one question.
Yeah.
This example of yours is excellent, and I'm sure there's a lot of food for thought. Just link it to smaller manufacturers. No, your company is a large company, it's got large muscle, and I'm not taking an excuse. What would be your advice to relatively smaller people? How do they partner, and can they exercise this kind of relationship?
Okay.
Can they leverage?
How many people are doing business more than 5 years in this room?
More than 5 years.
More than 5 years. Right? Mr. Beda knows, like Epic manufacturing base was 0, 2006. October 2006, right? We have hired first employee for manufacturing. 2006. First employee for manufacturing, and today we have 12,000 employees. So small can become big, right? And no buyer. When I say the buyer, Hager, Levi's, ANF, Walmart, nobody can give you the opportunity to become big. So the point what I am trying to say, you create the platform, you create the mechanism. When the buyer comes, what you show them? You show them your machine, everybody got it, Juki machine or Brother machine. You show them factory, building, everybody got it. You show them the sample which you have made, but how much time you have taken, nobody knows. Instead of that, how you show them what you can deliver them, what is your performance, what is your commitment. Like you say, okay, what buyer want first? Like Walmart want his store to be filled. Always you take the responsibility that I don't want to take any responsibility. I have so many things to do. They are the world biggest giant. I want to sell product. Okay, this is the product, this is the requirement. You ensure all the store in US is fulfilled continuously. There is any shortage or any refusal come, we don't have this size. You have to pay the sales loss. So we taken that challenge, we create the model and mechanism where we can supply them. Right? So the point what I'm trying to say, first we understand what we want to achieve and let's create the model and mechanism for that. So it is not small or big. It is not small and big. Right? It is a question of whether we want to big or not. Right? If
your advice to an extent is changing our business model. If what you're saying is we're in the wrong business, we should be in a different business, or we could be in a different business. Reality today, I mean, for us, we are servicing a very different need for our customers compared to the needs that you are servicing or even that Bruce is talking about. The diversity of materials that we work with, the diversity of styles that we work with. I'm not saying that the model that you're saying is not possible. It's possible for us also to do it on certain items of our inventory where we can enter long-term contracts with our customer, with our vendors. That's fine. But I think there is a little disconnect here because we are in a very different kind of business compared to the kind of things that you're talking about. How many different types of fabrics are you working with in a year?
maybe 100.
By types, are they different qualities completely or?
Yeah, different quality, different construction, different content.
Okay. And what would be the runs that you work with?
It actually, if you talk about a man's bottom, it is not having more than 7 to 8 color. If you talk tops, you will have more than 100 pattern and color in a month. So basically,
so let's talk about the tops business that you do and maybe start, comparing notes about that.
No, I will just first, I don't know, I'm correct, but I need to put that point forward. That is the what I want to do this business, manufacture, garment or whatever, what I am doing today, or I want to think as a manufacturer, as a businessman. I am here to make money, I am here to do business, right? I cannot say I will always eat gulab jamun and rasgulla. I need bread also, right? What suits to my stomach, what suits to my health and age, I need to evolve around that. I need to evolve around that. And I will tell you, I can say in this audience, after 10 years, we will be back in our tailor age. In 10 years. That is the way our industry heading towards. Sorry?
Customization.
Customization, right? Where India is the best. The number of tailor available in India is the maximum. So we need to use that strength in the future. So, like I will tell you, there are for small order and small fashion, I think Mr. Burton can flag, Mexico, DR, Dominican Republic, Hathi, there are some country is emerging. Because the cost increasing in this part of the world, they are thinking because of the opportunity, because of the job, better, like instead of giving an order of 3,000, I will give an order of 500 and 1,000 pieces in Turkey, and this where I get the delivery is 24 hours. So they will be our challenge. So we will be just talk about, oh, this is the challenge. Now because of this we are gone, or we take a return. We re-strategize our model. So it is redesigning. That is the first fundamental. We are a businessman or we are a garment manufacturer. We will do only what we are doing today. Like then why we are using color TV, why we are using LCD, why we are using LED, why we are giving the computer to our children. We have never seen the computer when we were in the school. So fundamentally, we will not stick to what we are doing. We will stick what customer want, what the business want, what the industry want. That is the way we need to evolve.
Vijay,
Yeah.
who have run businesses in India, Vietnam and Bangladesh, what business model you suggest for especially Delhi NCR kind of circumstances? Because the conditions are different in all the countries.
I will tell you, there is first of all, in India, even NCR, everybody is sitting over here. I have done this research personally, I may be wrong. I have tried to get one good white shirt, best class shirt in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore. I spent 3 days, 12 days. I mean it when I say. I could not get a shirt of my size in 3-4 metros. You tell me, a person like me, I am not perfect body, but I am a typical Indian body, right? You tell me any one brand, any one person who make, either if you take the size, then shoulder will drop and you will not be able to wear the tie, or the sleeve will be longer, right? If we make the perfect fit, considering the Haryanvi or a Punjabi or in a South Indian, and we make it the right size and the fit, there is an unlimited opportunity. And even do catalog selling, right? You take the measurement, put the size, make a permanent customer, just publish the pattern on the thing, you will get the order, you supply it. You may be making only 10% of the number of pieces what you are producing, but you will earn more money. There is
You look for this shirt as a manufacturer or in the retailing shops?
I'm a businessman. I'm not a man. Yeah. So I'm in a business. I know my capacity is small, right? What is question is, I'm talking NCR perspective or Delhi perspective. Because you can't go mass manufacturing in Delhi and NCR. You cannot think of having 4,000 workers under one roof. You can't. First of all, will you get the logistic to accommodate 4,000 people in a place?
Sure. Shahi has it.
Shahi has it. You are absolutely right. Faridabad plant you are talking about. When they set up, when they evolve themselves in the business, when they evolve. Today, if you get that big of what they had purchased in 19, I think 89 or 98, I think so, 98, right? That time. Today, do you think you can make business viable purchasing that much hub in Delhi and NCR with the property and the real estate today?
Today that land is, that factory, like only land is 250 crores.
So where you will make a business sense? You may get a land. So I will make there the a departmental store a commercial, not the garment factory. And today that factory is not making money. The money is making by South. In the other model they are going deep. So the point is that we have to think today's model, today's scenario. So I have a small factory, okay, I have to evolve. India market is huge. I will get the solution. I have a good tailor. So I need to make my model in such a way based on my limitation, but based on my vision.
Goelji,
Yeah.
I think if you, like as you pointed out that when we have to have small runs, and when we are making ladies garments with lot of embellishments and all, what kind of model one can work on. So if those specific, see, while one can go in factory and work around some models on that, but if suppose for now when you go to nitty-gritties of a factory, if you are going for cutting, how much fabric wastage you can avoid, how you can systemize the process, that when we are talking about this chart, when we are saying how you can reduce your time spending on shop floor, whether it's a large run or a small run, persons have to manage. So that aspect if we can discuss here, I think then we maybe will be doing more justice and we'll be in tune with what everybody else.
Yeah, like I will just share, like small manufacturer, we say big like I get an Eddie bar order, right, within a very, very flimsy fabric, and pieces are 3,000 pieces. My one line I am running with Levi's, within a 6,000 pieces order, within a 65 machines. Now that line has to go. My production manager comes, sir, we will take and changeover time will be this much. Why? This is a long sleeve. After that you are going for a short sleeve order. You are saving 8 to 10 workers, right? If I use this fabric, then I have to change all machine. I change pressure foot with a Teflon, right? Why I need to do? This is a simple shirt. So 9 worker I save, put into the modular section. I say first 3,000 piece, make only the collar, the 9 operator. Once they make the collar, because training them 9 people set on making the collar, it is an easy job. Instead of putting the hole into the line, put 3,000 collar made in 3 days. Then make the another things, it was a fancy placket or pocket, make the pocket. Another things, make the front with a placket. Use that 9 combination, turn out that order in 10 days instead of wasting my line of 65 operator, where I have to pass through the change machine setting of all 65. So you have to create a process in the mechanism, in the system.
All orders are those small ones only. So you don't have to change from 65 lines to...
Right. That means you have to have a different model. You have the skill set. What your skill set you are hiring? Your skill set, your recruitment, your training pattern has to be redesigned. Because we know that I am going to have a small order.
Regarding the fabric quality and the on-time delivery, I want to share one example what other big mills are doing. I am from a third-party inspection company. Whenever they outsource, like big mills like Welspun, Birla Century, or other mills, whenever they outsource, whenever they reach their capacity, they outsource fabrics. That time they hire third-party inspection services. They put it wherever factories they hire. They start that 100% inspection from daily basis. Then whenever reach a track code, then they will take it. They will take only whichever meets their quality requirements, so that they know exactly how many looms are running. They know their status also, and they get the good quality fabrics also, so that their supply chain is not affected.
And this is for cotton based or polyester based?
It's for a cotton based.
Even one more interesting thing, the maximum success lies in pre-production. Production is not that important. The pre-production activity is more important. And we do typically shrinkage test, etc. Even in denim, we do like shrinkage. The moment we do blanket, we do the shade segregation, we do all these things, right? The first thing, if you see, denim is the most standard fabric. We check the shrinkage. I don't know, but most of the people typically they will send for washing and they will ask for the shrinkage report, right? If somebody is a technician sitting over here, they know it is the most scientific fundamental formula. Without washing the fabric, you can predict the shrinkage. If you take, I can say you experiment, I'm giving one example, anybody can do any fabric, whatever they are using. Wash the fabric till the time it becomes a zero shrinkage. We call it a make the fabric zero shrinkage. Measure the warp and weft in case of woven, make the coarse and rails in case of knits. Make your database. Cover factor. Make your database. I'm sharing, I was predicting shrinkage in 93, 94, single jersey, interlock, PK, all these fabric fleece without touching the water to the fabric. You can predict. You know what is your dia machine you have used. You know what Stentor machine you have used. You have used TubeTex, you have used Santex or whatever. You should know how the machine can, how much shrinkage this fabric can give. You make your database. The moment you get the fabric, you are doing your trial, you predict. If it is say 6%, how it is possible? Something is drastically wrong, right? So the point what I'm saying, we have to use our experience and knowledge, convert into wisdom. The moment we put our knowledge and experience together in a structured way, it becomes our wisdom. Are we using or we are following again the process blindly years to year, years to year, years to year? Whether we have a sufficient database in our factory, fabric come, you check, coarse and wails, you know what is going. You check your, you say denim you are washing in light, medium and dark shade. You check coarse and warp and weft. You check the gray fabric. You can predict the shrinkage yourself. No need to depend upon anybody. Your sizing may go wrong in quality. I was sharing with an Optitex person, right? People check, okay, how much pattern you are taking, you are dependent upon master. What the master will do? You say 24 is my measurement. You know my shrinkage, you know my allowance. These are process standard. You put the benchmark in the system. This is my measurement. The moment I put measurement, CAD will give you like how much swing margin he has taken, how much shrinkage he has taken, how much production allowance he has taken. If he is not taking that much, you get an alert. As an owner, you get a message. Today, this pattern has been finalized by this person. He has taken shrinkage, fabric shrinkage is 3%. He taken the pattern 2% because the fundamentally they are working on hit and try. Hit and try. They will make the garment sample. They will wash it. They will wash. They will measure it. They find there is a difference. They will trim the pattern. Why? Why they need to trim the pattern? There is something wrong in the washing process or somewhere. Don't trim the pattern. It is a science. Make it to the science. Challenge it. Why you are changing it? Otherwise, how many pattern you can check? If there is no problem, that means everything is right. If there is a one problem, we get suspicious. We have nothing to be suspicious. We feel if I am not there, if some goof up will happen, what will happen? I don't need to worry. I don't need to be there. We have to create that mechanism within the organization. Be it quality, be it production, be it information, be it planning. We create a mechanism where the systems create alerts and where I can add value to the system. But we need to set the fundamentals right. People has to work on the fundamental. We should not depend upon pattern master. We should not depend upon quality manager. The person who
I'll
does the
just
job.
go ahead and give an example in terms of when we talked about pattern where we did a project with a garment factory which has a sampling department of almost 300 machines. And the target was to increase the efficiency of sampling department by 25%. That was a kind of a success-based project for us. We worked on a lot of areas for almost 20-25 days. We could not find, because for everything it was linked, because it has to go to bio, overtime has to be there, because sample has to go every day. So nothing we could just work on 3-4%. In the end, one major area we found, and which was that pattern master, he was making the pattern, he was giving to the individual sewing operator. The sewing operator will stitch the whole sample. So he was again grading the whole pattern because he has to ensure that the sample has to be perfect. So he was working on that and then stitching the whole garment and sending it. We said, okay, fine, whatever the sewing operator who is making the sample will not touch the grading, whatever has come from master, he just make it and send it. Whatever the size of the sample, whatever it is, whether it is wrong or right, he'll just send it. The day the pattern master came to know about it, he knew that if the sample is wrong, my job is gone. And like every pattern was 100% right, and the efficiency, productivity of the sewing operator just increased drastically, and we were able to increase just because of that operation efficiency by 22%. So overall target we reached to 26% in the sampling department just by improving upon that. Just imagine. So I'm saying, we instead of saying that no, this is what it is and there are complications in this, if we look towards each and every processes, I think there can be a solution which can be found in each and every process.
The objective of this discussion is how to create operational excellence where you reduce your 70% time 10%. You have to remodel your operations, and it is doable. If you talk me any specific example, I can tell you. A quality person in the factory don't need to see the measurement chart here. Still you can maintain the measurement. First of all, if you are doing wash garment or unwashed garment, wash guards, right? Okay. When you are making the pattern, you create in a simple template. Put the swatch on top of it, right? And you fit this small, medium, you put in a bar and put the tolerance red mark on that. The person is going, the moment this is for cutting, at the cutting, before stitching, after after wash. The pattern, the person is going just putting it, seeing the pattern, putting it. Every hour he is checking 10 pieces. If measurement is wrong, you don't need to make any fancy reports, statistics, how many plus, how many minus, nothing. You need to inform the manager, there is a problem, come and solve it. Next hour, if you find the problem, system is not working, manager is not working, like let everybody, CEO, operation head, everybody has to be on the floor to make the action, correction, not analysis, act. So why you need measurement? Why you need to read? Why you need inch tape? Because when I am making a pattern, I know what is allowance I have taken for sewing. I put the mark and he will just go, put it, decision making done. How many, if you are running 30 style, 10 style, how many measurement chart he will follow? How many times he will go and read what paper? He is doing, but he is eyewash. Trust me, it is eyewash. Right. But you make the process so simple, the person has no reason to follow it. So the success lies in operation, in simplicity. Not multiple reporting, not fancy report, not analysis. In garment industry, we need to act. Yes, boss.
Just one start at one point, it might just help the discussion. I think what I see is he's talking about remodeling. He's talking about remodeling from the point of view of how this intelligent group, which has been involved in fashion business for so many years, can be a leapfrog. And if we are to leapfrog, we have to get rid of the legacy. Which means the reasons what constrain us, इसकी वजह से नहीं हो सकता, उसकी वजह से नहीं हो सकता.
Put it forward.
We have to think out of the box. That will then be free of, and maybe let you go to 10 times kind of a bigger future. But that only if you want to. There is an opportunity available, but to be able to avail it, remodeling is required, and remodeling is going to be drastically different.
From top.
Drastically different, remodeling is going to make you uncomfortable. So that's what will take you to that level. Otherwise, if you do a similar or gradual change, it will be too late. Too slow.
We have to come out from the comfort zone. You are absolutely right.
I don't think there's any two ways about that, but the issue is we want to know how to do our businesses better or how to improve in our situation as opposed to saying, the legacy is not leaving this business behind and doing a completely different.
No. That is not legacy. That is not legacy. No. No. What I am saying, today you are spending in your business, say 50%, 70% time, whatever, right? Like yesterday, Mr. Uppal said, still he is getting in a call. If 200 pieces is cut, they don't have the feeding. He gets a call. If a person of Mr. Uppal's stature get in that call, that means something is wrong. So what I am saying, you get 70% time. Do you think you cannot capture any customer? You cannot understand customer psychology. You cannot understand customer need. You cannot understand logistics. You cannot satisfy much more need. But we need to give away our fear. We have to leave that back foot from the old place. Then you will just take a big step forward. Other we are stretching ourselves. I will take an example of Nokia. Nokia comes to India with a big legacy. Apple was crying. Today, with this legacy, today you can see how the turnaround happened in our front of our eyes. That Apple has beat the world. They have changed the whole strategy, innovation, creativity, right? The whole tablet industry and the computer industry is changed. So where we were thinking Apple is limited only in US and very limited group of people, and Nokia was, everybody talk phone means Nokia in Hindustan. Today nobody talk about Nokia.
So what is the message from Mr. Uppal? I just switch off the phone or don't look at it?
I'm throwing this
to one thing at least he can start with from tomorrow. Anybody comes with a problem. So what do you think when you come to know this? Why you have not come to me earlier? So if you don't come to, when you know, I will tell one very good example. Like you got the phone today, my production is less. I will tell you, when I was the production manager, I have started as mentioned, started as a typical Indian supervisor. I started as supervisor. I have not grown with some kind of golden spoon or a silver spoon. My production is that today, till today, 2 o'clock, every GM of mine, they need to talk every line manager, and there is a next day production plan. They talk. What is your style running tomorrow? This style, okay. What is the target? This target. Why this target? I'm not, okay. Sir, I don't have the cutting ready. I don't have embellishment ready. I don't have this. Between 2 to 5, you will go home once you make sure everything is ready. Otherwise, you will not go home. What is your job as a line manager? My plan, my line for the next day. If anybody comes to me or anybody as a production manager, say morning clock, sir, my thread is a problem. Up to 12 o'clock, nobody is allowed to go out of the line. Nobody means nobody. No departmental meeting can happen before 10 o'clock. 8 to 10, nobody is allowed to have any meeting. Garment industry, we are starting within a 400, 500, 1,000 worker in the morning. 1,000 people are coming with a 1,000 mindset. First, you need to charge them, to boost up, to start and channelize them in one direction. If he called by the GM or anybody for a meeting before 10 o'clock, he go for the meeting, he don't know. Your production in any swing factory or a garment factory, you can decide before 12 o'clock. You know your production by 12 o'clock. If you don't know your production, what is my production for the day? Something is wrong. Your planning is wrong. So between 2 to 5, he has to plan, give his next day target. And he is not giving, okay, I will give 900. Whether you have all the input ready, 6-hour input behind the line. Do you have all the trims behind the line? Apart from that, what is any changeover happen in your line in next 3 days or 4 days? What you have done? Have you stitched 2 garment of that? What will change next day? Only one thing. That is absenteeism and manpower. Now, as a line manager, I will go my line. I know where is my WIP. I know where is my WIP. I know 90% cases, I'm sharing my practical experience. One day, if I get an opportunity to visit any factory, I can tell which operator will be absent tomorrow. I can predict by seeing the WIP, by seeing the body language, you can predict which operator is going to be absent tomorrow. You go to that operator, ask, what is your problem? How is everything is okay, etc., etc. Tomorrow you are coming. The moment you ask, he will say, sir, tomorrow I have a problem, this problem, that problem. Okay, you come 2 hours late, but you have to come. You insure, you endorse, you take the insurance policy. So I asked the question at 2 o'clock. Okay, are you sure your all operator is coming? Where is the bottleneck? Bottleneck is feet of the arm. Have you checked with feet of the arm? Have you kept 2 feet of the arm operator in your pool? Have you kept 1 machine extra there? So all these things, what are the things we cannot predict in this garment industry? What are the things? But what mechanism we have to control those initiatives and take care that this person will not absent? If I talk to somebody, you are not going, you have to come tomorrow. Otherwise, you know, whole production will suffer, the line will suffer. If he don't come, after second days, he has to connect with your eyes. That time, you can realize that. As we create that kind of connectivity, do we have the mechanism to create that connectivity? So, solution is there. But proactive approach and the mechanism. It cannot be talking. Whether there is a mechanism, if you go, I go in the factory, I say, sir, we are doing all this, show me. The first thing, show me. If he can't show, he is not doing. Finish.
Goelji, what we will do is that we'll take you to one of the factories and see that how we turn around one of the factories within this OGTC cluster, and it can become a model where everybody sees that how that can be done. Now we have a summing up session upstairs, so we have to finish the session now because 4:30 we have a summing up session upstairs. So in the end, what I can say with what Mr. Burton said, what Mr. Goel talked about, Mr. Bheda summed up really nicely, where we are saying that when we talked about legacy, it's not that because that's our bread and butter, that's what giving us money, that's giving us profits. So how to redefine that? We find time for ourselves, we find time to grow our business instead of being in the business and always engaged and maybe our next generation not wanting to come into the same business. So I think that's the kind of message. And I can tell you, when Mr. Goel has been talking about, I have seen him working from 1993 to now. So everything started from scratch. So it was always small factories becoming big. While every day you think that what kind of system and processes you need to put to see that it doesn't come back to me. Every time somebody is not calling me, and I think it's his mind orientation was from 1993 like this, and that's why everywhere it's set like this. So we can take up these kind of activities in OGTC cluster also and make it happen. I can assure you that once you start thinking in those directions, it can happen. That nothing is impossible. Thanks. Yeah.
One last example, best of my example of my life. When I went to Vietnam, my production was 3,800 pieces. I mentioned yesterday I have taken over one sick unit. 3,800 pieces, bottom and shirt put together, and 1,400 workers. And there was being a communist, whatever management failure or reason, 3,800 pieces, 1,400. In 9 months, we were at 11,000 pieces with the 1,200 workers. The need of the hour, nothing, no rocket science. That Vietnam is a woman-dominated country, 68% women balance with the man. So my factory was having out of 1,400, only 27 male, balance all are women. Right. What I have done, I have picked up 6 best operators from India and Bangladesh, take them to Vietnam, giving them air-conditioned staying facilities, of course, good salary in dollar, and put them into the line between the 2 operators. One operator is attaching, say, 60 to 70 pocket. I put one male operator next to them. This first day produce 150 pocket they attach. Within 7 days, my every operator, Vietnamese girls were producing 200 plus. Because their ego got hurt, how a man can be superior than a woman, and that too coming from India and Bangladesh. And I turn around these 6 operators in my whole factory, and my productivity become 3 times. So I'm sharing. So there is no fixed industrial engineering or fundamental. What suits to us, we have to actually do.